Hello and welcome back to SnowRunner. Now, before we get into this video, I do want to say that this topic was inspired by a video done by SD11 called Why MudRunner is Praised to This Day, and I will of course leave a link to that original video in the description down below. It's a really good video, it's a really in-depth video, and they definitely put a lot of work into it, so make sure you go and check that video out. The Jeep that I am driving is the Blizzard, and it is available, I believe, on just about all consoles. I'm not sure about Switch, but it should be available just about everywhere. Double check your console mod browsers for that. And the map that you are seeing on screen right now is the first map called Duncan Bay, filmed on the public test server in the new Season 10 region, which the public test server, as of the date of recording this video, is the only place that you can currently play the Season 10 DLC, as it is currently not yet released. And with all of that housekeeping out of the way, let's dive right into the topic of the video. Now, as we talk about these topics, I want to sort of give my own personal opinion on all of the topics that SD11 hit on in their video, because I've been playing this series ever since the original Spin Tires beta, right? The Spin Tires demo. I've been playing it since the beginning, and I feel like I have a lot of opinions on this series that I can weigh in with. Now, the first topic that they brought up in their video was frame flex, and how in MudRunner, you had quite a bit of it. You had quite a lot of natural twist and flex in the frame, whereas in SnowRunner, a lot of the frames either feel completely static or near static. Now, frame flex is something that is prevalent on real-world vehicles, especially when you start lengthening the wheelbases, because obviously when you make the wheelbase longer, if you've got one force pushing one direction at one end of the vehicle, and then you've got another force pushing the other direction at the opposite end of the vehicle, you're obviously going to have some give. A frame, while it is a very strong structural part of the vehicle, cannot be entirely rigid and static. Even on some of the most rigid vehicles, there is still a tiny little bit of twist that sometimes in the real world you just can't see, but physically it is happening. I personally prefer the way the game presented frame flex as a dynamic in MudRunner as opposed to SnowRunner, and it would really be nice to see them bring some of that back in the next installment of the series. The next topic that SD11 touched on was suspension and suspension flex. Now, suspension flex absolutely was a lot more prevalent in MudRunner than it is in SnowRunner. Now, especially when you talk about the default vehicles in SnowRunner, as someone that played Spin Tires and MudRunner, the suspensions in SnowRunner always felt undoubtedly stiffer and a lot bouncier than a lot of the vehicles from past games. As a matter of fact, just about every vehicle from past games. Now, I think you have a lot of people that came into the series in SnowRunner that never experienced the physics and in particular the suspension dynamics of vehicles in Spin Tires or MudRunner, and in that way, you know, sometimes when we talk about how we would like to see more give and more flex and more fluidity in the suspensions, some people are like, wait, why would you need that? These suspensions are fine. They may not have always have had experience with the way they felt back in MudRunner. Now, the next topic that SD talked about, and I'm going to just refer to them as SD from this point on, the next topic that they talked about was engine sounds. Now, I'm not going to go too in-depth on engine sounds because engine sounds are a very personal type of preference, and obviously I play with a lot of different mods. I did back in MudRunner as well, and the stock engine sounds of the, stock in-game vehicles never really bothered me all that much, but that's a little bit more of a personal preference, so we're going to skip over to the next topic. Now, the next topic is a big one because it deals with terrain physics. Now, what SD said was they found that the way the terrain deformed, essentially, was a lot more, not only a lot more realistic feeling, but a lot more progressive feeling in MudRunner than it is in SnowRunner, because what they said they felt was that in SnowRunner it was either way too easy or way over the top difficult, and neither end of that spectrum felt very realistic. And I tend to agree. I definitely think that the difficulty curve of the terrain deformation in SnowRunner does seem to feel like it jumps from stupid easy to stupid hard. Like, there doesn't seem to be much in between build-up. And they also said in that section that when you compare logging in SnowRunner to logging in MudRunner, SD's words, not mine, that logging in SnowRunner was a joke compared to MudRunner. Now, I don't know if I would quite go as far as to say it's a joke, but I will definitely say that from someone that has lots of experience with MudRunner, logging, specifically in MudRunner, definitely felt more engaging, it felt more realistic, and it just felt better. It felt like it flowed a lot more. The next topic that SD brought up was how so many little details that were in MudRunner seemed to be a little bit more absent in SnowRunner, and I tend to agree, because if you look at details like, for example, on a semi-truck and trailer, you have air and electrical lines that run from the trailer to the actual cab of the truck itself, or rather to the tractor, not to the cab, but to the tractor. Now, in MudRunner, these details were very, very, very pronounced. Like, they were kind of front and center almost. The game almost highlighted them. But in SnowRunner, there are a lot of trailers that just flat out don't have any connections or cables or lines that run from the trailer to the tractor. Now, some people might say, well, that doesn't affect gameplay, so you really shouldn't be worried about that. And to that, I actually disagree, because I find little details like that to genuinely make the game a lot more enjoyable to play, because it feels more authentic. And not only does it feel more authentic, but it feels a lot more engaging as well. And I think that that's sometimes what we find missing in SnowRunner today. Because yes, SnowRunner today obviously is the best looking. And I don't think anybody's trying to argue that. I'm certainly not trying to argue that. I love the way SnowRunner looks. I think in terms of a just sheer visual standpoint, it's absolutely the best looking game in the series. The visuals in MudRunner and Spin Tires as well were a lot more kind of bland and filtered looking, in my opinion. Now, I know that some people out there are going to be mad that I said that, you know, because there are some people that are like, you know, SnowRunner will never be better than MudRunner in any way, shape, or form, but I'm like, the visuals are on a whole nother level in SnowRunner. And on that topic, I do want to touch on something real quick, because usually whenever I make a Spin Tires versus MudRunner versus SnowRunner like topic video, there's always some people that show up that are surprised that I'm not just using it as a way to say, like, you know, MudRunner is perfect in every way and SnowRunner is completely awful in every way. And I'm like, that's not exactly the case. Like, sure, do I think the physics in MudRunner were better? Yes. Do I think that there are elements of MudRunner that should be brought back? Yes, absolutely. But do I think SnowRunner is a bad game? No, I don't think it's a bad game. I don't think it's a bad game whatsoever. Do I think that there are some elements of it that were a little bit mismanaged? Absolutely. I think there were some rollouts that were mismanaged. I think there were some, you know, community dynamics that were mismanaged. I think that there were some decisions made in the development that could have been made a lot better, in my opinion, especially with things that did not carry over from MudRunner to SnowRunner. And that's where I want to look forward into the future. And when it comes to the future of this series, I mean, I would personally love if we basically got SnowRunner graphics with MudRunner physics and SnowRunner levels of customization for the vehicles. I think that would basically give us the perfect game for this series. I mean, think about it. If you had the physics capability of MudRunner, right? You just, like, lifted up the physics model and plopped it over here, you would already have your physics sorted out. Like, that would be that part of it done. And then as far as, you know, the actual way you build and purchase and customize the vehicles, carry over the store, carry over the dealership, carry over the customization, carry over all of that crap. That stuff is not bad at all. That stuff is great, in fact. We can keep all of that. What I do think we should get rid of, though, from SnowRunner, and definitely keep or switch to from MudRunner, is the bumpy, bouncy, clunky suspension model in the stock vehicles. I'm sorry, I don't think it's good. I think there are some stock vehicles that drive okay, but I don't think the overall physics model is good. I really don't. If you go back and play MudRunner, especially, you know, a lot of the vehicles that SD used in their video, you'll see what I'm talking about. And I understand that not everybody out there got the chance to play MudRunner. I understand that not everybody got the chance to play MudRunner with mods because mods were only available on the PC version. But, you know, we already know now that this series can support console mods. I mean, like, SnowRunner's been doing it for multiple years now, albeit with some, you know, bumps and clunks in the road. But if we had the MudRunner physics model with the SnowRunner, you know, garage and customization and, you know, mod browser, all that kind of stuff, all that functionality, but with a MudRunner physics model, we really would be looking at a truly incredible game, and I think that that's what so many people don't realize. And personally, I don't really see why they had to change and adjust the physics model so much between MudRunner and SnowRunner. That part of it just doesn't make any sense to me. But before I get all too rambly, that is going to do it for this topic and for this video. And if y'all enjoyed anything that we discussed, make sure to leave any and all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. And if you're new around here and you would like to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn those notifications on. And I will see y'all next time. Talk to y'all later. Hope y'all enjoyed.